Jordan Bohannon, Jared Stansberry. It's Jared and J-Bo on Iowa Everywhere. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Yo, welcome to the podcast on Iowa Everywhere. It's Thursday morning. We're actually recording this at 11:15 at night on Wednesday, January 11th, because Jordan doesn't know how to tell time if he leaves the state of Iowa.
I am, for one, down to abolish time.
Just time in general. We're just done.
Not even time zones, Jared. Just time in general.
It's just over. No, you are in California right now, playing for the Wolves, and you told me that you would be good to. You told me the times that you were going to be busy, and then you told me the time that you thought you were going to be able to record. And I was like, that does not sound right based on what you just told me, but I'll roll with it. And then it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. It basically ended up being exactly what I expected it to be.
I don't know what I was thinking, because I was trying to get my schedule nice and right for you, because I know you're a busy man. We're trying to get our schedules right. Now we're on different time zones. It isn't possible, but this is a funny story. I interviewed Kurt Warner like a year and a half ago, and I think he was on West Coast time zone, and we had it all set up that it was supposed to be 7 o'clock, or what was it? It was 8 o'clock our time, 6 o'clock their time.
Yeah.
I got it mixed up, and we got on at 6 o'clock a.m. thinking we were starting at 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m.?
Yeah, I was an idiot. And then we're like waiting for him to come on, and it's like 6:30. We're like, okay, I gotta call him.
Oh, jeez.
I'm calling a Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner, at 4:30 in the morning. And my dumbass doesn't realize it. And I'm like,
no.
So he probably woke up to like two missed calls from me and 2 text messages from me asking about he was getting on. I feel like the biggest dumbass in the world. Can you imagine doing that, dude? And you calling and spamming a Hall of Fame quarterback? Hey, you joining? And it's 4:30 in the morning. God bless his soul. He's still got on.
That's an all-timer, man.
Dude,
that's an all-timer.
I don't think I've ever told that story.
So you still interviewed him? So what happened?
We still interviewing him. I was just like, when he got on, I was like, Kurt, I'm sorry, I'm just an idiot. Like,
he was probably like, this fucking guy. Like, what is wrong with this guy? You know?
That's the first time I ever told that story. So just shared it.
Was this to promote his movie?
No, we just talked about like his family life and stuff. He's a cool dude, really cool dude. I think it was before his movie just started like production and stuff though.
Okay, I've never seen his movie. I didn't know if it was good or not. Yeah, I don't know. We do have plenty to talk about on this week's episode. Besides you embarrassing yourself with Kurt Warner, Iowa basketball with a couple of wins last week. Iowa State a couple more wins, up to 4-0 in Big 12 play right now. We're going to start with the Hawkeyes. They've got a big one coming up Thursday night, hosting Michigan at Carver Hawkeye Arena. The Wolverines are 3-1 in Big 10 play, but coming off a loss to Michigan State. First of all, the win against Indiana, had to come back from the big deficit early on in the game. What'd you see from the Hawkeyes in that one?
This has to be one of the most up and down seasons in Iowa basketball history. They beat a team like Iowa State, killed them at home. They beat Clemson. They lost to TCU, obviously. Won at Seton Hall. And they lose to a Eastern Illinois team. They lose to Nebraska back-to-back. And they come off and rattle win at Rutgers and against Indiana. It's just a bizarre team. I don't even know going forward, I think this provides them a lot of momentum going forward as a team, like with great chemistry now that they know they can get things back on track. But man, it's hard to like fathom the ups and downs this team has had so far.
Obviously, just having Chris Murray back and fully healthy has been extremely helpful. It's hard not to be impressed by the way that Connor McCaffrey's been playing in these last couple of games. And then Peyton Sanford too. You know, I thought that it was interesting. We talked about that last week. I think you said that he hadn't made a shot yet in Big Ten play. He goes out and he makes a shot the next night, you know. So you're just kind of starting to see, I think, this group start to gel, you know, and obviously not having Patrick will be interesting for a while. But I mean, I thought that something kind of flipped. It was kind of like a switch flip for them a little bit when they got down like that against Indiana early in that game. And then there just was just found a different gear.
I think what Philip has been able to do this year, like he should be in talks of being a all-team, all-conference player. Like he has been playing unbelievable. Obviously Chris Murray's going to do his thing, and you know Connor is the ultimate glue guy, and will continue to hold that team together. But man, what he's been able to do, he's a difference, I think, in that team. If they're going to do well in a game, like he's the one that's going to decide if they're going to win or lose. He's been playing unbelievably well this year.
Yeah, it's 17 or 19 points in the game against Indiana, and then 16 and 12 against Rutgers. He just is like, I don't know, like there's a lot of teams just have that guy that for some reason when you like during the game you don't feel like they like make that big of an impact, but then all of a sudden you look at the stat sheet and they've got like 8 points and 7 rebounds, you know, and you're like, damn, man, it's just like guy just is like doing it. He's just like doing his job, you know, and that's what I respect about him. Like he just goes out there and just tries to out tough people, you know. You just gotta respect it.
Yeah, especially what Chris does. Like there needs to be another interior presence because Chris likes to gravitate towards the perimeter. So to have a guy like down low to kind of handle the rebounding battle when Chris isn't down there, I think that's huge. Definitely a huge dynamic for an Iowa team that lacks size in the Big Ten. But yeah, man, they've had a lot of great games these last couple of games. Step up in huge ways, like Peyton you were talking about, and Philip we were just talking about. Connor's been playing well. Chris is back, but man, like what Philip's been able to do, he deserves more praise from not only Iowa fans but the Big Ten. I think he deserves a lot of recognition for what he's been able to do.
Well, he's gonna have a good challenge coming up tonight against your boy Hunter Dickinson. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a little bit. But first, the Indiana game did not come without controversy. Mike Woodson was not happy after the game. You have the clip of Fran McCaffrey. We're gonna break this down. Well, first of all, this was out of control for a brief moment. It's a tough look for the officials. That's all I'm going to say to preface everything that happened here.
There's just a lot going on in this clip, and we'll get it up here in a second. Yep. We'll just watch, and then we can kind of react.
Yeah.
With coaches, Fran McCaffrey is over on the Indiana side of the floor. He wants to know what the dialogue's going on at that end. They're going to have to separate these two sides. An issue with coaches. Fran McCaffrey.
Okay. So first of all, what's going on here? Like what?
There's a whistle being made by Zoe, and we all know how bad of an official this fucking guy is. So
Which one? Which one?
The guy that gave it to you. I'll run it back real quick.
Okay.
This fucking guy.
Coaches,
he blows his whistle, and he calls a T.
Oh yeah, he teed somebody up. That's clear.
He gives a T.
Yeah. But what I don't understand is why Like, what happened before this that ever prompted Fran being over there? You know,
I don't know I would have to recall the events that occurred beforehand, but I know neither side was happy with officiating
yeah,
at either point of the game.
clearly, yeah,
And obviously it's been like known that Fran gets out of his coaching box a lot. Like, but that's nothing new compared to the nationwide of coaches that do that. That's not
yeah,
something that's normally called a technical.
right.
From what it looks like, Jared, I think the tee was being made towards Fran.
I mean, would you say that that's probably warranted?
Yes and no. I know right before this assistant coach right next to the official that called the tee was up close to him and they're talking about something. I don't know exactly what it was, but I saw, knowing coach and what he's done in the past when I've been on the team, he hates when assistant coaches from other teams are up in the officials' faces and they're having a conversation. He hates that. And he does not want that to happen. So prior experience, I think that's what happened. He went over there and was trying to figure out what was going on during the timeout.
Right.
But
see, and that's where, so this is purely from my perspective. I think just from the basis of like the rules, like that assistant coach probably isn't supposed to be standing up either, you know? So it's like, it's the going across half court. That's where it's like, I feel like that's got to be almost an automatic technical. I would think by just the rule book, you know, to go across that far across out of your coaching box would have to be an automatic technical. That's what I don't understand.
100%. But again, like Tom Izzo, he gets out of his box.
Oh yeah.
Like Underwood gets out of his box. Everyone does it. Woodson does it all. Woodson has done it before too. The only thing that's different is this was during a timeout. So I don't know if any rules are different from that aspect since it's during a timeout, but it's kind of like a known rule. Like, you don't cross a half court line when you're the other team, like during a timeout. Like, that's kind of just like basketball etiquette, I guess you could say. But my thing is, he blew his whistle. So was he teeing up Fran for coming over? Was he teeing up the assistant coach that was next to him that they were going back and forth on?
I mean, I would think it had to have been Fran. Like, I don't know how. I don't know. But I mean, they took it away. Is what basically it happened. Whatever happened here, it didn't amount to anything. The thing I will say is I would have found it very hard to believe that they were going to kick Fran McCaffrey out of that game.
Right. Which is the other prior is he already had a tee. So is this something that the referee was taking into effect?
Yeah.
But you still blew your whistle. You still called a technical foul.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if there was a conversation. He blew the technical foul. There was a conversation, and he said, all right. And then they all came together, and they're like, we're going to be in big trouble if we kick Fran out of the game.
Right.
You know? And it's like, we probably can't do this.
Right.
And you that's where I can understand why Mike Woodson's mad, but like, I can get it. You know, I can get where they're coming from.
Just a bizarre chain of events. So then this is what Coach Woodson said after the game, which I personally, before we listen to this video, I think what he says in this is idiotic because they blew such a huge lead, but we can listen in. And
yeah, I mean, they did not lose the game because this happened. They were up by what?
It started it was like 26-4 to start the game.
Yeah, they were up 28-7 at one point. That was when they had their highest win percentage odds. Yeah. So, all right.
So listen to Coach here.
I'm not even going to comment on that because that's bullshit. Is what it is. You know, you can print that because again, when you can allow coaches to come across half court into your space, that's bullshit. It is.
The question I wanted to ask you about that, Mike, was it looked like one of the officials called technical foul.
He did call the tech, and he pulled it back.
Really?
Which was bullshit. Guy should have been thrown out of the goddamn game.
Up 21 in the first half.
So,
dude, okay, I just gotta say this. The thing that fucking kills me about that video is what he says they did give him a tee, and he pulled it back. And the reporter who's in the background, really? It's just like, man, ain't deep like that, dude. But these people just, that kills me.
What's so bizarre too with that whole chain of events with the two coaches, after he came out and said that in the press conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened to him. Like you're coming out and saying something against the officials is an automatic fine. Coaches get fined for that. McCaffrey's been fined for that numerous times when I've been with him. But nothing happened. There was nothing that occurred with Woodson and the Big Ten. All that happened was the Big Ten came out there's a reporter that came out yesterday and said there's been numerous talks with coaches around the Big Ten saying that the officiating in the Big Ten has been really poor. No fucking shit. Really? That's what we're going to come out with? Nothing was said about.
Let me ask you something. When's the last time you ever read a report where they came out and they said the coaches in such and such league think the officials are great?
Never.
Of course, the coaches think the officials are bad. Of course.
Which makes that report even
right
more idiotic that even reported on. But yeah, man, this always strikes a chord with me though, like because I've came out publicly before. I remember in the Big Ten tournament during COVID, the whole situation with Juwan and this wasn't the slap that happened in Wisconsin, but there's with Juwan Howard and Mark Turgeon at center court, and someone told someone to kill them. Like I hope he's gonna get killed or something. I don't know exactly the words were, but I think it was Juwan said he's gonna fucking kill Mark Turgeon. I think that's exactly what it was said. But dude, there's stuff like that happens. And Coach Gard in that same tournament came out about the officiating during our game. And I remember in the conference post game, I was like, dude, like all these people are having all these things happen throughout the league. And if this happens to Coach McCaffrey, he gets a fine immediately. I just think it's very ironic how everything unravels in the Big Ten. And ultimately, I think the officiating in the Big Ten is a big reason why there's been such a lack in the NCAA tournament with wins from the Big Ten, in my opinion.
Didn't Juwan Howard miss the NCAA tournament that year for that deal with what happened with Mark Turgeon?
He was. I don't think he got suspended.
I feel.
I don't think he was.
But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that he did.
Was he? I don't remember. But I know.
I mean, it might not. I would be very surprised if he wasn't. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that he was. Dude. For some reason, I feel like there was a year that we're just gonna look it up. But they went into the tournament with a interim head coach.
I am almost.
I'm like 95% sure that this is true.
I don't. Either or the whole guard situation. That was the reason why I came out and talked about the officiating.
2022 post-game fight. Oh man, not that one.
That's when he got suspended for the rest of the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't think he got suspended in the 2021 year.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because that was the whole reason why I came out to the reporters and started talking about it. I was like, this is such a double standard.
I need to just Google Juwan Howard, Mark Turgeon. I mean, okay, I was going to say this. The thing, like, I do think that there is a path to justification for why he didn't get fined for this, why Fran didn't get kicked out of the game last week. That is not, like, a conspiratorial thing. I do think that Mike Woodson was pissed and probably should have gotten fined based on the letter of the law. But also, Fran McCaffrey should have probably gotten a technical and gotten kicked out of the game based on the letter of the law or of the rule. So it's like, how I feel like there's probably some discussions where it's like, hey, man, we're not, we're all good, but there's nothing that can be done about it now, So everybody just move on. We're not going to fine you.
But isn't that like all like more corrupt than the other way around?
I don't know. I think it's just people using discretion on some level.
I think it's people being fucked up. That's what I think.
Well, again, like I think that if the officials were working by the letter of the law, that Fran McCaffrey would have been kicked out of the game. So like it wouldn't have mattered.
Fair, but I mean, when does it stop then? So this situation happens again, and like I think it's just a tumble effect. Everything.
Maybe these
a double
coaches just
standard.
need to relax, bro. Like,
really, that's what
I'm not saying specifically to Fran. I'm just saying okay, maybe we don't need coaches saying they're going to kill each other on the sidelines, but they hope someone kills somebody on the sidelines. Okay, like, or you don't need guys like Danny Hurley that have such a reputation now of screaming at the officials that they say one thing and they get a technical.
Maybe
like,
that's what
just
needs
like relax.
to happen.
Just relax.
Maybe that's what needs to happen, or get better fucking officials.
Coaches should just coach their team, man. I'm not talking about Fran, because I think Fran still does a good job of that. But just as like some coaches out there, man, they just let that other shit get in the way. Like Mike Woodson, that he was bothered by that the rest of the game, bothered by that, and that it seeped into his team, and that's why they lost the game, because that little shit, And it's like that's why what Fran does works a lot of the time when he does that. He's strategic about it, and that's what I respect about that. It's like
yes, I agree. He's very strategic on how he interacts with officials, but I still think there's a double standard with McCaffrey in the league. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just gonna keep track of every time that anybody is fined in the Big Ten.
Well, it's just not even that. Like it goes the whole down the line, like from the Big Ten to the national media to like how others are.
So really, you're just mad at Seth Davis. That's what this is.
At the end of the day, Seth Davis is the moron, and I'm waiting for him to reply back to one of my tweets. That's what it comes down to.
You should just say I'm going to tweet at Seth Davis every day until he responds to my tweet and apologizes to Fran McCaffrey.
The worst part is Seth still comes out every morning and says, "Be kind," period. That's his first tweet of the day. God, I'm triggered.
That's what it is. You need to quote it. You need to quote it and see how long it takes him before he stops.
I get so triggered with that tweet, man. I get so triggered.
This is day number 775 of me quoting Seth Davis's "Be Kind" tweet, telling him to apologize to Fran McCaffrey for the double standard he faces from the national media.
He for sure would block me by then.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
By day 100, I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. I'll do it. I don't care. We're gonna hate
just asking for it. Just asking for it for no reason.
Dude.
I respect it.
Seth Greensburg too. He can fuck that guy.
Oh man, just the whole college basketball old head crew. I mean, Seth Davis isn't really an old head, but oh man,
he's old enough.
Yeah, he's old enough. All right. What do you think of Iowa going up against Michigan tonight?
I think this is a big game, not only because it's obviously another opportunity to get 3 in a row, but for both teams. Michigan is struggling. Right now, their resume is not looking good. Iowa's as well. I mean, Iowa has a lot of great wins, but that Eastern Illinois loss is really going to hurt their resume. And as you've seen, I think they're still first 4 out in bracketology. So they have to keep winning, and Michigan is soul searching right now. They're looking for a huge road win. They're looking for an opportunity to get a big win for the resume. So I would imagine this game is going to be one of the most competitive games that the Big Ten slate has so far, just because of what's on the line for each of the teams. And it's early. It's still really early for Big Ten play, but there's a lot on the line for both these teams. So
what would your tweet be if Juwan Howard gets a technical foul or does something to warrant a technical foul?
Oh man, if that happens, the thing that pisses me off though, I'm not gonna be able to watch the damn game because I have a game tonight. So yeah, that's frustrating. So I'm gonna have to be checking in at halftime during my game to see what's going on.
You check your phone during the game?
During halftime. Like when I get back to my locker room, yeah. Hell yeah.
What are you doing? Watching TikTok?
Fuck no. I scroll through Twitter a little bit, see if I missed any events during the first half. What else do I do? Check scores. That's really about it. when you're a professional basketball player, like is not as like
Hyper focused.
yeah, dude, college is like crazy. Like if I did that in college, someone might slit my throat.
Well, have you ever seen what Deion Sanders does if somebody's phone goes off, he kicks him out of the meeting. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if that happens to us, we just get a little fine. So
right. Yeah.
it's a little different.
All right. And then they play Iowa goes to Maryland on Sunday. So a couple good games here coming up over the next couple of days.
Home again. It's at Iowa.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yep.
At home against they get 3 home games in a row.
Yep.
Is there any reason? I mean, they could go 3-0 right here, couldn't they?
They should. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows in conference play, no matter what conference it is, you have to win your home games.
Yeah.
It's a must. But the stretch after these home games, they're gonna have their work cut out with them again. They have a really hard 8-game stretch where they're gonna have to buckle down and really get after it.
Yeah, I mean they play 6 of their last or 5 of their last 8 on the road.
Yeah,
that's rough. I don't know, 3 home games in a row. That I don't know if that ever happens in the Big 12. That's wild. But yeah, they should definitely win all 3 of those games. If they win all 3 of those games, you think they're back in the tournament?
Yeah, they're on pace. I think now with that win at Rutgers, I didn't expect them to pick up. I figured they'd beat Indiana at home, but that win at Rutgers, I think, allowed them to a little wiggle room with wins in the Big Ten. I think if they get to that 10-win mark now, they'll be in the tournament.
All right. Before we switch over to Iowa State, I want to remind you guys, Sweet Caroline's Kitchen and Cocktails on Main Street in Ames is the perfect place to go before or after Iowa State home games. Anytime the Cyclones are on the road or anytime the Hawkeyes are in action, it's a great spot for late night fun with a Southern-inspired menu with a great collection of burgers, sandwiches, wings, and, of course, Caroline's famous fried chicken. The atmosphere is incredible with plenty of TVs to watch any game on your radar, and there's a party room available for rent in your next big gathering. That's Sweet Caroline's Kitchen and Cocktails at 316 Main Street in Ames, the presenting sponsor of all of our basketball conversation here on Jabo and Jared. I heard Lexi Donarski at the Iowa State women's basketball game last night say that Sweet Caroline's is her favorite restaurant in Ames. That sounds like an NIL opportunity right there. I hope that somebody hears this and gets a line to Lexi and gets that deal done.
Hell yeah. I'm down. I can't wait to go there and have some fried chicken. We've been hyping it up. I'm ready.
All right. Iowa State, a couple of big wins last week. Buzzer beater win on the road at TCU. Gabe Kalsher with the big shot after Iowa State nearly blew their lead that they had late in the game, 69-67. Then Iowa State beat Texas Tech on Tuesday, 84-50, in one of the most dominant performances I've seen by an Iowa State basketball team in quite some time. Going on the road to Kansas on Saturday. I sent you the condensed game. Did you watch it? You watched the film this time.
Yep, I watched the game film.
I'm proud of you. Man, I think it's really hard to not watch Iowa State right now and be really impressed with the way Gabe Kalsher's playing and the way Caleb Grill is playing. The way those two guys are shooting the ball they're shooting with a lot of confidence.
I will say this, Grill makes some tough-ass leading shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is impressive, which worries me because Gabe, we all know how Gabe's seasons can go.
Yeah.
And give a lot of credit to him. Like, he played phenomenal against Texas Tech, and obviously the shot he hit game prior to win in a hostile environment, that's huge in itself. Those two guys need to be more consistent for this team to make a run in the deep run in the NCAA tournament. I mean, they've shown they're 4-0 now in conference play.
Yeah.
Like, that's absurd to think about after the Iowa loss. I thought honestly that was going to be like a beating point for them. That was going to be a breaking point, and they're going to go downhill. But man, like TJ, he's got something figured out with whatever he instills in his guys, man. Like, he is whatever he's feeding to that team, not only last year but this year too. Like, they just buy into that man, and they believe in him, and they believe in each other, and they are looking really good right now. Like, I mean, top 15 team in the country. They deserve that ranking.
Yeah. So since December 17th, which is would be right after that loss to Iowa, Iowa State's played 5 games since then. They got Trey King at that time too, who had transferred in and sat out last year and has played a pretty significant role for them here these last couple games. Since December 17th on Bart Torvik, one of the metric sites, they're number 3 behind Tennessee and Houston, with the number 14 adjusted offensive efficiency and number 11 defensive efficiency. And that, it's only 5 games, but it's like you don't need to maintain being the number 3 team in the country, in the metrics to be really good in the Big 12 and compete to be at the top of the league until the very end, because I don't think anybody has the expectation they're going to win the league or win the national championship. But it's like when you play the way that they have played right now, you can see that they are capable of playing at a level where they could be one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I think, not to take anything from the Texas Tech win, I think Texas Tech is fucking horrible. I was very not impressed with that team, which is a shame because I thought they were going to be really good before the season. But that's what it's going to take for a team like Iowa State. Like, they got to handle like teams that aren't as good and aren't as relevant in the Big 12 this year that can make runs. They got to be able to handle those games, because at the end of the day, like, they're going to show up to like teams like Iowa State. They're going to show up and compete against the top talent in the league, no matter what. It's the games that are like not a lot is on the line for the opposing team. Those are the games that can get really sticky and troubling. And just from my experience, those are one of the hardest games to play in, because those teams have nothing to lose. They will go all out one game and they might just give up the next game. But
right,
when they're on their A game, man, like that's frightening for a team like Iowa State. And I think that said a lot that they had a Texas Tech team come in like that and they just manhandled them. And a lot needs to be said about that coaching job TJ is doing, because like I said earlier, they're just, whatever he's feeding to those players, they're buying in.
It is I can't ever remember like a more jarring personnel flip in one year than what Texas Tech went through in the last season. Because like last year, Iowa State and Texas Tech, physically, it was not even a matchup, like not even a competition. When you think about Texas Tech had Terrence Shannon, they had Kevin McCullough, they have Kevin O'Banner, they had Bryson Williams, they had Adonis Arms. Like, they had some dudes who were just different, and just could really defend and could switch at every position, and then they could all put the ball on the floor and score and could make plays for each other, and they just were a really good team. And you didn't get any of that sense from them this time. And I think my concern for that program is like, I'm sure some of those guys that came back last year, so they were galvanized to an extent by the fact that Chris Beard had left. And it's like, it's a big FU to Chris Beard to like stick together and prove that you guys can still play at that level. And like, you don't need him, but then all those guys left, and Adams like didn't replace any of them with guys that really seem to fit that same mold of the style of basketball that he wants to play.
Yeah, and that's the most thing that was apparent when I was watching the game, is this team just didn't look like a team that was coached by Mark Adams coach. Like, the players weren't buying into what they were feeding them, like defensive schemes. Their offense looked non-existent. It was hard to watch, and you also got to give credit to Iowa State because they were phenomenal on defense too, so they threw them off their game. But man, I've never seen a team. I've played in a lot of games that teams just kind of give up like they did. It almost seemed like Texas Tech didn't want to play.
Mm-hmm.
From start, they had a little energy, but pretty much for 40 minutes, Iowa State they killed them in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did not expect that to happen. I don't know what to think. Part of me wants to write Texas Tech off and be like, they're going to finish last in the league, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. They still have a pretty talented team,
It's crazy too, because Texas Tech hasn't won a game. West Virginia's winless too, and West Virginia is a good team. I thought when I've seen them early on, when they played in the Phil Knight Classic,
the metrics loved them for some reason, but I don't know. It just seems like every time I watch them, I don't come away feeling near like what the metrics say. It's just a weird team.
They're definitely a weird team, but to go back what I said too, like those types of teams, like a West Virginia, they're a really great basketball team, and they might not have all their players bought in, but like when Iowa State goes and plays them, like they goes to play at Texas Tech too, like those types of games says a lot about a team's identity. And after the Iowa win or Iowa loss that they had, I think a lot has been shown on what their identity they have this season. Can we work on Jones's free throws? Like,
No kidding, dude.
holy
Cow, man.
I didn't realize he was
Yeah.
shooting 35% from the free throw line.
What'd you say?
I didn't realize he was shooting 35% from the free throw line.
Yeah, he's 11 of 32. That's it's not the worst part. It is kind of the worst part is that he shot the second most on the team too. It's
See,
like the dude's getting to the line all the time. He's just not making it.
That is a worry though, like to be serious for a second, because I mean, other than he's a great interior presence, but when he's not in the game, Iowa State's a totally different team, in my opinion, and how they not only offensively but defensively, because he can be that rim protector.
Mhm.
But when he's in, bro, if I was like, we're scouting, like every time he gets the ball and we have a guy that's not playing like heavy minutes, we're gonna tell him to foul him every time he's about to go up for a shot. Like that's just
Right.
what's gonna happen. I feel like, especially later on in the Big 12, that's gonna happen in the conference play.
I mean, I think that in a perfect world, probably aren't having a position like that. He's the centerpiece of the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's nothing against him. It's just like, and he can be a guy that you can throw the ball in the block to him, and he can go and get you a bucket every once in a while. But it's like you don't need him to be putting up 10 shots.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but he makes plays, and he gets it done. Like, and that's where you can't fault him. But that's where they need, you need Oshun to play better, and for him to be playing as well as, I think what people expect him to. I thought that he did against Oklahoma last week, but it just is like being able to string those games together. But I mean, their front court's so much better than it was a year ago that the guards can afford to be a little bit streakier. Like you have that guarantee of getting more points from other guys than you did last year.
I will say this too. You mentioned it earlier on in the year. I'm really impressed with Lipsey's game. I think he can be one of the best point guards in the whole country, in my opinion, in a couple of years. His ability to I feel like he always seems to, every time I've watched him play, he always seems to play at his pace. And I think that's really hard to find, especially in a young player like he is. That a lot of guards want to play how they're being defended. And your ability to play at your own pace will create huge separation from whoever's guarding you, and will continue to help his stock later on in his career too. Because that's a hard gift to have, is to be able to play at your own pace.
That was always the thing that impressed me so much when I would go and watch him play in high school. Obviously playing at Ames High, is just he just controlled games. Every game was played at the pace that he wanted it to be played at, basically. And I feel like when you're watching high school point guards, a lot of time it's like, if you want to get a real feel of how good this point guard is, it's like, are they playing the game at their pace, or is it played at somebody else's pace, or are they just like out of control? So then the whole game's out of control, and he never seems like he's out of control, and that just is so impressive for him to have those qualities. And I think you can see where it rubs off on his teammates too. Like, I think a Caleb Grill appears to shoot the ball more confident when you've got a guy that is going to get it to you in those spots you need to. It seems like Kalsher shoots the ball, when you got that guy that is going to put it right where it needs to be, and he's going to get you those shots in the spots that you want him to be, that can be a game changer for you, and just that confidence that can give you.
And that's such a hard quality too. I mean, you look at teams across the country and just ever the existence of basketball, you look at the point guard on the team and how they play says a lot about where your direction of the team is going to go. If you have an out-of-control point guard, he's making mistakes, he's not huddling guys, doing the little things, having a pass as a shooter, having a pass with the laces coming off a screen, little stuff like that, means so much for a team and how they're handling their season. And having a point guard like Lipsey has been, I think, I mean, it's so huge. Like, Grill, you're talking about doing simple things like that. Callister getting his confidence back. You want a point guard like that to control a team, and I think that's as the point guard goes, the team's going to go. And I've always believed in that, and I think any smart basketball mind would agree.
I think that there's probably somebody out there that would track this, but I would be interested to know what Caleb Grill's shooting percentage is on passes that come from inside the three-point line, like where he's catching it inside out, can catch it right here, rise up and shoot. It seems like that is by far when he shoots his highest percentage, because he just steps right into it and shoots it, and his release is quick, and it's just like, that's where you sit there and you're like, damn, this ain't the same Caleb Grill that I remember, from when he was a freshman, when the guy didn't look like he belonged out there. Like, you just got to respect that he's just put that work in, and it's like he's finally starting to see some of it pay off too, and it's like every shot that goes in, he feels more and more confident the next one's going to go in.
Yeah, and he needs to be like that. If you're a shooter like Grill is, to ever doubt, I'm not saying that he has doubt his ability to shoot the ball, but you want to have that confidence every time you touch the ball is going to go up and you're going to have a shot. Because at the end of the day, when you're the best shooter on the team, you should get the most shots. I mean, it's not a basketball isn't a game of equality. Like, you get the best players get the most minutes, the best shooters get the most shots, the best rebounds get the most rebounds. Like, that's just how the game of basketball works, and that starts with confidence too. To be a shooter like that, and I feel like he's starting to play with a lot more confidence, especially against Texas Tech.
I was going to make a joke. You said basketball's not equality. I was going to make a joke that that's not what Iowa's basketball jersey said. I figured that would be a bad taste, but it just is. I just had to say that. That was just funny that you would, because what was it, that guy that said that they needed to put defense on the back of the jerseys instead of equality?
That's actually funny. But to be honest, though, it is a testament to the fucking dude. We've had those jerseys for. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with equality. Like, I'm just saying we've had those same jerseys for 4 fucking years.
It's just like the NFL having stop racism in the end zone. I'm not saying it's wrong. It just is like, it just feels like a little bit much now, where it just is like, we get it. We know why we know why everybody did it. And like, I know that it's smart, but it just is like, it feels like corporations, things like that, schools, like they just, we can take it one step back now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just, I know
it always just kills me too when Iowa has 5 white guys on the floor and it says equality on the back of the jersey. Like, that just is so weird. It just feels like it feels pointless. It's like, this feels really hollow here. Just being honest.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not debating.
There's one other thing. Oh, okay. So what we were saying about Lipsey, that is where, I think I'm not saying that Tyrese Hunter is a bad player, because I think Tyrese Hunter is a really good player. He's playing really well at Texas right now, and I hope that he goes and plays in the league. But I think that what Lipsey brings to this Iowa State team is probably better for the team than what having Hunter would have been. And I think you even look at where Texas is at right now. That team is very erratic, but it doesn't shock me at all, because Marcus Carr has been all of his teams he's been on have been that way, and it's nothing like Marcus Carr's a really good player when Marcus Carr's playing well, but then you also can get a night where it's like, I think that him and Tyrese were combined like 4 of 17 from the field in the first half of their game tonight, it's like, it just can, that's what I'm talking about with the chaos and like the game not being under control. Those guys kind of exemplify that, which can be good for them, but can also be bad, I think.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it is crazy to think about those 2 players that you singled out and the teams like Marcus Carr in Minnesota. He was a baller. Like, he could get a bucket, but man, his teams were so chaotic like half the season. Like, I remember we played them at Minnesota, and they were really good. Like, I think he had like 30, 35, and I'm pretty sure they beat us. And then we played them like 2 weeks later at home, and we beat them by like 25 because of how like crazy Marcus Carr played. And I mean, you could say that about Hunter too, Iowa State. Like, I think as good as he was, there's almost a sense of like he kind of held the team back a little bit. I feel like to an extent. I know that might be a hot take, but he's a really, really great player. But Lipsey, players like that to have that calming effect, I think that's more beneficial at times than a guy that plays at that level of craziness.
Mm-hmm. It's like Tyrese has that raw potential, but then you look at the numbers and it's just like, I don't know. It feels like, I don't know the best way to put it, because it's just not very efficient, and that's where I feel like you want your point guard to be uber efficient,
Yeah, it's more of a forced stats that he has compared to letting the game come to you.
Yeah. And that's what I was to say. Like, even tonight, the thing that's still, I think that he's still learning is when to drive it and when not to, and when to pass it out. And, there's times where he's driving into Eddie Lampkin and trying to go straight over the top of him. And it just is like, just can't do it, man. You can't finish like that at this level. And not many people can, especially at his size. It just is that's where I feel like Lipsey has done such a good job of being able to develop that floater, and then you can take that floater, and now teams have to respect that, and you can throw the lob over the top, over the backside help, and it's just like it's those things that I feel like have helped Iowa State elevate their team that maybe would not have happened with Tyrese, which is like they still could be a really good team, but it would be a much different team. I think it would not be near as flow driven as what this one seems to be.
And I think it's important to distinguish between the two. Like Tyrese, you're really great basketball player, right? Like, we're not saying.
Oh yeah, I'm not knocking. Yeah.
No. I understand. Yeah, I get what you mean, but there's a difference between being a really great basketball player and not understanding the game compared to not saying average, but player that might not be as skilled as him, but they think the game at a totally different level. That separates a team so far, because exactly what you're talking about, like little details coming off a screen. Is the guy sagging off on you? How's he playing in that ball screen? Can you do a pocket pass? Can you throw over the top? Can you do a floater? Can you throw it to the rim? Those quick decisions is really hard to find, not only at high school level, but the college level and on. And that's what makes you distinguish between a really great basketball player, I think, is that high IQ that you can have. And it's really rare to have. It's almost like it's almost God-given.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel like there's a lot of players that are really skilled, but they don't think the game at a high level, and they just won't ever, for whatever reason.
Another perfect example, I think, of this is another Iowa State one is Tyrese Halliburton and Lindell Wigginton.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody here is going to sit here and say that Lindell Wigginton is not a fantastic basketball player. Like, one of the best. When he was rolling, he was as good as any scorer I've seen at Iowa State since I've been covering the team. And I mean, one of the better ones in the Big 12. That dude was really, really good. But man, there was something about the things that Tyrese Halliburton could do that just nobody can do that. Nobody else is out here doing it. The things that he would see and the passes he could make. And it's just like, it doesn't matter how many points this guy can score. Like, we're going to score even more points because this guy's setting everybody up and getting everybody in good positions. It just is, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's another good example of that, though. It's just a little bit different position wise, but Tyrese is a great savant, he's just so fucking smart for the game. Yeah.
No, that Lindell and Halliburton, that's a great example, because that fits in perfectly exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think Iowa State has a chance to have a really good team, and Tyrese is coming to Hilton Coliseum next week.
Ooh.
I bet he'll get the Jordan. Do you think he'll get the Jordan Bohannon treatment? Who do you think will have it worse, Tyrese Hunter, or do you think you'll still have him beat? I don't know, man. I think he's gonna beat you. I'm gonna be honest.
That's a hard debate, because I was fucking hated, but man, I never transferred out of their school.
No.
A different conference.
Yeah.
Team, or to the same team in the same or different team in the conference.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Is it on TV? It's got to be on ESPN, right? They have to televise that one.
I would imagine so. Well, Iowa State plays Kansas on Saturday. That game's on on ESPN Plus.
Dude, it's crazy those games aren't televised.
This one's on ESPN Plus too.
That's crazy to me. Like Big 12 has been.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up with the ESPN Plus.
I know ESPN Plus.
We'll get it done.
I know. I understand, but like, dude, we got to get it figured out. Big 12. They do such a shitty job with televising games.
I think once they go to Fox, it'll be better.
Oh,
I'm hopeful. Yeah. I think that they'll put more. Yeah, I think it'll be good for the Big 12 too to potentially be on Big Fox too, like on the networks.
Right.
But there was one other thing I was going to throw out, but I can't. I'm blanking now. What were we just talking about? Oh, I'm going to Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday.
You are going?
Yeah, for Iowa State, Kansas.
That will be electric.
Yeah. You ever been to Allen Fieldhouse?
I have not. That's one place I want to go.
It is like a spiritual experience, dude. It's incredible. I'm excited.
I'm jealous.
I'll send you some videos. The music in there is obnoxiously loud.
That's what makes it great, though.
I'll drive home in silence, no sound whatsoever, because my ears will be ringing from the arena. Especially the way they've been playing recently, where they get down 15 points in the second half and then have to come back and go on a 20-4 run to end the game or something. You know, that's just how Kansas does it. But all right, man, we'll talk to you next week. Hopefully after a couple more wins. All right, we'll talk to everybody again here on the pod. Thanks to Sweet Carolines, and we'll talk to you again soon. Peace.